great discussion today. Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? It's good. No, here's, it's interesting. This is my 5th year here, and it's not much has happened in 5 years, right? So it's not like there's been much to really talk about. And if nothing, it's not become real, it's that change is not only inevitable, it's part of everyday life. What's interesting about this process is it takes a really long time to pull together a master plan. I've been honored to co-chair this process with Charlie. And think about, as the president said, programming leading to facilities, right? It's like, you don't start with a facility and then work backwards in the programming, although we end up doing that a lot, because once we build something, we use it until it's ready to fall down, right? As I jokingly said to one trustee once, we moved here in 1871, and sometimes you walk in a building and it feels like it. And so the challenge with the master plan is you have to imagine 20 years out. You have to imagine a campus that's transformed over a long period of time. And this process is to do just that. And guiding that process has to be our strategic plan. As the president came in, she really, over the last 10 months, wanted to develop a conversation about that plan, where it's gone and where it's been post-pandemic. And really, we've been recalibrating and thinking about that plan. That's had an impact on the master plan concept, which I would have to say has been an unbelievably democratic conversation. I mean, open opportunities for people to engage in what the future could look like here. And it's challenging for us on 90 acres where you have to go up. You have no choice but to build tall in a world in which, when this place was built, there was, 20,000, 15,000, 8,000 students, right? And we haven't grown in square footage or acreage in that time. So the plan to rebuild and renew, right, is tied intimately into what this is, and we have to be driven by that. The second thing then is it has to also be tied into our vision. And I think the president identifies this as really clear. We can't be a university in a city. We have to be the city's university, right? And we have to drive downtown redevelopment. And one of the opportunities here as we do that and integrate ourselves even more deeply into the city is to think about a vision for this plan about how a nationally and globally recognized institution drives downtown redevelopment, drives innovation and creativity, pushes the arts, and rethinks how we imagine even our relationship with technology. So we have to build an environment that adjusts to this, that thinks about student success, that connects to our community mindedness, that brings in a deeper connection to the communities and peoples that populate this space through our sense of inclusivity and collaboration. We have to capture the values that we want to represent, and the challenge is building that into the literal architecture of the campus. And when you do that purposely, 20 years later, you're going to find yourself in a completely transformed space, but it's going to take time. And so we want to think forward, knowing that what you build over this 20 years will last 60, 70, or 80, right? And what is going to be nimble and adjustable to the programs of the future. And that's one of the biggest challenges. Like the general economy, higher ed is going to continue to adapt itself to the changing environment of what's going on. So how do we create spaces that let us transform and build with them? So as we recalibrate the strategic plan, we have to be able to think about the master plan in that larger context, and then take advantage of opportunity as it finds itself here. So with that, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I know there's probably a lot of people streaming in as well. There's going to be a lot of conversation, time for questions, and so forth as we drive this process. But I want to thank our partners and Charlie and everyone else who's contributed tremendously to this process. Charlie, with that, I'll turn it back over to you. I don't get around to Paul. As been mentioned,
within the campus. It's been my honor to be able to serve in the role of captain in terms of leading the team through all of the different discussions that we've had. It's been challenging too, because this process got started just before the pandemic actually got underway, which presented us with some unique challenges to ensure we got robust feedback. And we've been at this for about 3 years, and as you look up at the screen, you'll see that this all started with a preliminary background report. That preliminary background report involves our consultant team and the folks within FD&O really doing a deep survey of the campus community and our existing framework and structure for our programs, as well as for our existing space, so that we really understand how we manifest ourselves in the physical environment today, and then also start to look at what our deficiencies are. That report was published in spring of 21. Following that, we began working in earnest on the community outreach component, which still was challenging even though we were starting to come out of COVID. But we held well over 100 community meetings. We also had a ton of different focus groups with the different divisions, with departments, with leadership across campus. We also went out in our community and had town halls and worked with different community organizations, which is very important. The town-gown relationship is always important for every university, but San Jose State University is a very unique place in that we are actually in a highly urbanized setting, which is not always normal. So it's very important for us to understand how we integrate into our community and how our community integrates into us. That resulted in us developing with the advisory committee, the president, and the executive cabinet a campus master plan framework. That basically is, in my construction world, the structure of the house that we want to build, but it's not the finished environment of that house. The framework is something that the team then built upon and dove deeper into different areas to be able to better understand the campus and what we needed to do to manifest a different vision for our physical future 20 years out. Very challenging work, but very worthwhile work. This past spring, we published and reviewed with the advisory committee and published to the campus a draft of our master plan and got a lot of feedback. We got feedback all throughout the spring and summer, and took all that feedback, digested it, and fine-tuned our master plan as well as the imagery that you see in front of you today. We really focused in a lot on the space deficiencies that we have, the space that we need, not just for our academic programs and for research, but also the space that we need for our students, student residential needs, and student life programs. How do we become a holistic, continue to build on where we are to become a more holistic community when we think about how we care for our faculty, staff, and students? You'll see that we really focused in on using our acreage wisely. We started going more vertical. You'll see that in what the team presents to you today, but some of our reason for going vertical is to use our acreage wisely. It's very difficult to purchase property around the campus as compared to perhaps some of our other sister campuses that are in more rural areas, but it also spoke to our need and desire to create more open space in the campus so that we had a space that felt more like a community, a backyard, place for rest, place for gathering, place for socializing, and places for coming together. I'm very proud of the fact, and I think the team will talk about this a little bit more today, that through these efforts we've been able to envision the creation of 5 additional acres of open space within the campus that will be filled with our landscape, improved paseos that no longer are just pedestrian corridors, but are actually spaces for you to stop and commune with one another, to enjoy one another, to sit, relax, study, and do work. We recognize that it's in the best interests of our campus for us to use the entire campus, inside and outside. So we really took that into account with our master plan that you're going to see today, I want to also talk to you about how you stay in touch with where we're at, because this is one meeting today, but we still have other steps to go in the process. We have posted everything that we have done on our master plan website, which is go.sjsu.edu/CMP. We will continue to update that website with all work and efforts that we do. You're going to find there the plan that we're going to present to you today in depth, as well as with some of the highlights that you're going to see. And we're also going to spend time in that. We'll talk a little bit later in this meeting about next steps, but we will also keep the website updated with regard to next steps of the process, which is conducting our community meeting here today, but also we've gotten our environmental impact report underway. That's a necessary step in the California Environmental Quality Act process. And we're very happy that that work is underway, but there are a number of different public meetings that will be held coming up and opportunities for additional input. And all of that will culminate down the road, and I'll give you guys a little bit more detail later, with presentation of a final master plan to the Board of Trustees and an environmental impact report for their adoption, and we project that to be sometime in late spring. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our wonderful master plan team to help walk everybody through what it is that we as a campus community have created.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Tracy. My name is Jane Lynn. I'm an architect and urban designer with Urban Field Studio. And I've had the pleasure and honor of working on the campus master plan. And I just wanted to take a moment to have you think about what that really means. It's about imagination. It's about the future that you can't see today. And it's also about really learning and rooting in what we have learned all along the way as well. We've really done as much as we can with the pandemic and all of the constraints that posed, but it has given us a lot of unique thought in what we put together for the campus master plan. So with that, I'm going to go on just to zoom you all the way out and coming into the to what we're talking about. We are looking at all the campus properties that are in Santa Clara County, and the San Jose State is really a collection of campuses with main campus and South Campus and a few other locations, and also a campus in Moss Landing Marine Laboratories. For the purposes of the EIR and for our planning, since the Moss Landing Marine Laboratories is in Monterey County, we have really just focused this campus master plan on the properties in Santa Clara County. Early in the process, we decided to do that, and so what we'll be really covering is the landscape and the buildings and all of the things that we are, all the development that will be part of the EIR. The campus master plan really comes from its place in the greater context of the city of San Jose. And with that, the connection to downtown and also all the adjacent neighborhoods around it as well. And as you can see here, main campus and South Campus are a little over a mile apart, and there is quite a lot of different context that we were working in terms of the urban environment and also the urban scale. And so the way that we've really rethought it is to try to make those edges a little bit more permeable and to make them a lot more connected to the areas around it. But before I go too much further, we wanted to set out a few of the key parts of how we think about the future of the university. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Linda for a moment, who will talk about some of her work that defines the needs of the university based on enrollment.
Thank you, Jane. A lot of what you're going to see today is really going to focus on how the university will look and feel in the next 20 years. But underlying that, underlying the design, underlying the layouts, underlying all the beautiful renderings that you're going to see, There's some really important assumptions about enrollment and academic programs and student life that tell us how much space the university needs to provide for and what kind of space that is. These numbers are not just projections. We didn't just take a ruler and do a straight line out to the future. They're based on a lot of thought by the President's Executive Cabinet and on analysis of what's going on in higher education and demographics. So as we look at the numbers here, I want to highlight not the numbers themselves so much as what some of those underlying assumptions are. The first one is that we anticipate that student enrollment will move much more toward transfer and graduate students, as the number of high school students in California is not increasing. In fact, it's decreasing over the next couple of decades. And we anticipate that special session will grow. We also expect that FTE, full-time equivalent students, will increase more rapidly than headcount due to student success efforts when students can actually take more courses and graduate in a more timely manner. So all of those numbers are sort of compiled together to reach the future projections for student enrollment. Faculty increases will include more tenure track faculty and more full-time lecturers and not so much dependence on part-time lecturers. So there's a change in the composition of the faculty. And staff changes reflect proportionately the increase in students, the focus on student success and programs and support that students need who live on campus or off, as well as increases in funded research and scholarship. And that we expect some of this activity to occur off campus as well as on, as we take advantage of, for example, hybrid and online, both education and administrative and support work. Next, I want to talk a little bit about how those numbers of those population numbers, enrollment numbers, and assumptions translate into the gross square feet for the campus master plan. Gross square feet is the total amount of space that every building needs to include, so it includes hallways, infrastructure, restrooms, and the like, not just the interior buildings. The first row shows that the additional space required based on those assumptions that I just talked about, and it includes space for academics, for student support, for campus life. We need, at San Jose State University, 2.6 million more gross square feet than the campus has today in order to really support the program assumptions. And that square footage also includes 2,100 more student beds on campus. That's like another half again as many student beds as are currently here. There's a little over 4,200 right now. I'll bring the total up to about 6,300. That's really a huge increase for an urban campus. Next, as several people have already said, we can't add capacity, especially to the main campus, without going up. And when you go up, it means you also need to replace buildings that are at the end of their useful life and replace the space that they had occupied. So there's the next number on our chart here, the 1 million gross square feet. That's just replacement space of buildings that will go down, and their activities will be reallocated and resorted into new space. And then the final number that's important here is the 1.6 million gross square feet of renovation. The buildings that aren't demolished and aren't replaced that are important to the campus to remain, including those like the present building with their historic importance, will need some renovations, and that's another part of the master plan. Now, I've just talked about building square feet, so I also want to point out that there's a lot more new construction and renovation in open space. We've already had the hint that there's more than 5 acres of additional open space on the main campus. There'll be renovations to paseos and other open spaces here, as well as a major renovation and addition to open space on the south campus, which you'll see shortly. So now, with enough numbers to keep your head spinning, I'll turn it back to Jane, and we'll start looking at the renderings and the way that the campuses will be laid out in the future.
Thanks, Linda. By the way, this table is really a distilled spread from the spreadsheet. It's the amount of numbers we've really had to work with has been staggering, and actually it is a real, it's just so much space. If you can kind of imagine how much space 2.6 plus 1 plus 1.6, this is so much space. So we are really putting forward a plan that has a great amount of new spaces and renovated spaces for all of us to enjoy. So just wanted to kind of cover, since that is such a big number, we're really trying to think about it on a higher level right now with the vision of what the campus could be. And this does not just include main campus, which is here, but also South Campus, but really thinking about transforming the university's boundaries and interface with the community. And our approach is really to have more integration, and the vision is really about the way we approach and leave the campus and thinking about our experience of what that is like, how it's distinctive, how it's inviting, and we know that there is a really special relationship there between downtown San Jose and the campus, and so the way the campus contributes to the entire area is a big part of the campus vision. We also, another really big part of the vision is thinking about the past. It's really wonderful to be in this auditorium today. The Tower Hall has been a great inspiration to us, and we feel like it needs to be elevated and celebrated. And so there is a really big part of the plan that really reveals the Tower Hall and Tower Lawn and makes it a much more central part, more like what it historically should have been, or was, and put it back to the way it should have been. And so this is really trying to strengthen the sense of place of where we are on campus, what we have been in the past. And by making some of the really important moves in the plan, we are able to really make Tower Hall a much more centralized piece of that sense of place, and also strengthen it with a redesign of the Tower Lawn outside and all of the other spaces that feed into it. And of course, I had mentioned earlier before, we are really pulling South Campus closer in, even though it's a mile away, really won't move. But the idea is to mentally bring it closer to the main campus and in the way that we think about planning and the way we think about it as part of the university. And one of the things is just really thinking of it as a fundamental part of San Jose State. There are other locations as well that this idea applies to as well, to include other locations that are away from main campus, off main campus, but a crucial part of the university. Our vision is really also about the connections that we can make with each other. We're really going to show you a lot of ideas about how we design and redesign indoor and outdoor spaces, and how we can make the connections with the community in itself. So think about all those places where you might bump into someone, whether it's outside of class, whether it's on your way between two buildings, on and off campus. There's a lot of things that could be done with the campus and the way that it's designed today to really enhance that vibrancy, to enhance that activity where we can really socially connect. And it's really the social connections are such a big part of the approach to the design here. We've really tried to weave it in every place possible, and you'll see that throughout. These are just some of the images of campuses in other places that served as inspiration, and we know that those kinds of places are places that could be here as well. And then another big part of the vision is really elevating the culture of the community that's here already. And so the expression of culture on campus is something that there is a start, but there could be so much more. This is an opportunity in the future to really put out our values, the things that we care about, the histories and stories that we want to tell, the things that we're working on. Those can all be made really visible in our physical campus. And this is one of the things that we have really worked hard to make a more embedded part of the whole campus master plan. We see that there's going to be a lot of opportunities for the campus to show itself, show its own community what they really care about on buildings with public art, and with the way that buildings are designed. So really it goes a lot more deeply than just diversity, equity, and inclusion, but really embeds it into our physical environment. So now that we've kind of covered some of those mission, the values, and our vision, this is just to show that we took them and started to create goals. We worked on these goals with the advisory committee about 3 years ago. We came up with pages and pages of goals, and actually it took a while, but we distilled them into these 9. And we took a couple of them, which were very detailed, and we made them into design principles. And as a campus plan goes, we need to start to put this structure in place so that we know we're reaching the goals when we're working on the plan. So this is just to show that the goals really are on a high level here, but they are expressed throughout the campus master plan in different ways. And just to give you a couple examples of how that is expressed with diversity, equity, inclusion in particular, we really wanted to highlight the goal. The first goal is in creating an encompassing sense of place. And that is really to make sure that it all feels like when you arrive at San Jose State, that you really feel like you belong here. And there's so many different ways that that can happen. And of course, we mean for this to also be part of the development of both the main and south campuses and the other locations as well. And of course, the big goal here is to support that vibrant university community and the connections we can make socially. So there's all these different ways that we can do it. They could be through different amenities for different needs. They can speak to the way we design and for different abilities. It could be for everyday use and how people move about the campus and how they feel in their well-being. And it can also serve for people's daily rituals and things that they want to do that the campus does not currently serve. So it's putting all of these things in place so that it makes the campus a lot more functional and usable and enjoyable. And to build on this a little bit more, to strengthen the campus's cultural identity, we are looking at the same goals again, but really thinking about how that can be expressed in the landscape and on buildings and integrated into new spaces. And this could be through the expression of native plants or special planting and places where you can really go and relax. And it could also be through the design of new buildings and integrating features. And we are careful actually in the plan itself not to say exactly what those features would look like. I think that's really up to the campus community to think about and what they want to express over the next couple decades, but really where it could possibly go. And that's the kind of fun imagination that I'm hoping we'll get to see surprises of where this could go and how it can be expressed and what stories are going to be told. But we can really see it in places that are perhaps in the hallway where everyone can enjoy things, or out under the eave of a new building. There's so many possibilities that go beyond just murals, but those are also a real essential part of it as well, and you'll see some of those in the mural, in the renderings. So just wanted to orient you to our illustrative plan. This is where I always feel like this is an exciting thing. As an architect, I really like plans, but just to help you read this a little bit more, the buildings that have just a single letter on them, those are the new buildings. And then the buildings that have an acronym on them, those are the renovated buildings that are part of the campus master plan. And what Linda had covered before with the great amount of new space and renovated space that's part of the campus master plan, you'll see here that lots of buildings on the campus are labeled. So the campus master plan really touches quite a lot of the campus. In fact, at some point we were joking with each other that it was really part of every building in some way, shape, or form. But what we see here are the ones that are listed in the campus master plan as being a project. And all of those projects also include a portion of the open space as well. And as you can see, there's going to be great transformation on San Fernando with new buildings and a great renovation a lot of the buildings along the southern edge along San Salvador, including a new student housing at CB3 and renovations at Joe West. Also on South Campus, there's going to be more buildings that sort of that meet the edges of the campus and define it more, and also a new heart. What you see in the middle there is a plaza that really unites all of the sports together. And here's another view of it. This one's a little more of a 3D massing, and the colors represent different types of land uses. This is really a diagram of what the volumes of the buildings could be without much detail, and it kind of gives you a sense of what kind of buildings there are going to be on a kind of a high level. So what you see in the blue are academic mixed-use buildings. Those are the classroom buildings, research, lab, all those kinds of uses would go in those. And then in orange, you see campus life facilities, so student union, SRAC, those kinds of facilities where recreation happens, and the event center as well. And then with the yellow, you'll see the residential student housing facilities. And then in the brown, you'll see the athletic facilities, which are mostly at South Campus. And of course, in gray is parking. So those are just some of the elements of the campus master plan, and they're generally integrated with each other, but here you see them sort of, in some of the buildings themselves, there are a lot of different services in them, but here we kind of see them in a general category. But with that, I think I'm gonna turn this over to Kristen, who will talk a little bit more about all of the different projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. I'm going to stay here at the table and point to some of these diagrams. I'm really excited to be able to share, as an architect and a visual learner, I'm excited to show you the graphics that we've been using. I am Kristen Soares. I'm with Field Paoli Architects, architect and principal. And as with Jane and Linda, I've been working on this since the start, January 2020. So I'm going to go through some of these open spaces. There's much more in the master plan, so we encourage you to check it out online. But I'm going to start here with the Northeast Plaza. And really the vision here, this is engineering buildings A and B. We are looking to create a welcome social center to showcase academic work and unify the open spaces between the new buildings, the existing buildings, and the landscape. So this offers this moment of arrival as you come off of 9th Street, the 9th Street Paseo. And you can see here that we're really looking to create multiple areas, right? So this Northeast Plaza, engineering quad, we have an associated student house garden, as well as regrading and improving the Picardo Business Classroom Building Plaza, tying that in with the student union as well. This project will be built as two phases, part of building A and B. Here we have the rendering of that view. This is the view from San Fernando along that transformed edge, really creating that activated, comfortable, and attractive landscape and streetscape, drawing people into the campus, and with that priority of arrival sequence and pedestrian access. These new buildings along engineering A and B are intended to be a strong architectural and landscape vocabulary that really differentiates from the downtown architecture of the adjacent buildings. Here, as we sit in Tower Hall, very important piece, the transformation of the Tower lawn and the area around Tower Hall, really looking to better connect current and future students and community with the greater community. As Jane mentioned and showed a slide earlier, the historic proportions of Tower Hall have been looked at, and scale and location of new buildings are intended to reframe that historic scale. We have strengthened pedestrian circulation around. We have the new buildings J, F, and G, and then renovations at Washington Square Hall. One of the important pieces here is the expanded Rose Garden. We heard a lot in community outreach around the importance of those quiet spaces. So being able to really focus there, along with an outdoor theater adjacent to the new building F, and then that town gown access connecting on 5th Street with City Hall. We are, utilizing existing palm trees and mature trees, connecting all the way down to the Spartan Memorial. Here's that rendering that you'll see on the boards as well as in the document, really looking to where science is currently and will be demolished, renovating Washington Square Hall here, and framing this new view into campus where it's restoring that view that was once true. We're showing some signage and public art along the edges, and this will be true in pretty much all of our renderings and representations, trying to give a canvas for the campus community to reflect their history. Moving into the Paseo de San Antonio. This, of course, is an important pathway on main campus connecting downtown San Jose, the Alquist Building, the Hammer Theater, and the new housing at Spartan Village on the Paseo at the former Signia Hotel site. This is an important entry for the community, directing directly all the way into the center of campus. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more. We're looking to widen the entry on 4th Street by removing the loading dock at Washington Square Hall, relocating the fenced bicycle parking that is in this zone here to create an outdoor event space and plaza, as well as the demolition of the faculty office building that is currently right here. So improving those sight lines directly into campus, creating outdoor classroom spaces, and really those areas to linger. Here we have sorry about that. We have significant improvements around the center of campus, the Paseo de Cesar Chavez, where we are looking to increase the visibility and importance of the Peace Arch, as well as new building L, creating that framework with the existing student union building. What we're looking to do, how this happens, is the removal of the music building here, really looking to expand that and make it a central hub. Paseo de San Antonio, as I mentioned, ends right here at New Building L, Paseo de Cesar Chavez connecting through and expanding that area there. The massing and facade of the New Building L is intended to reflect the massing and design of the existing student union building, encouraging indoor and outdoor connections, as well as that grade level transparency for public views into what's going on inside the buildings. Here's our rendering showing that space, really looking at opportunities for celebrating that arch, as I said, and then clear circulation around the perimeter. We were looking for spaces for flex zone with movable furniture, recreation zones. There's a bermed lawn that circles the arch, so a place for students to linger, to watch the activity, but not necessarily have to be in the middle of it. So opportunities for both large events, outdoor performances, as well as those smaller outdoor rooms. The other area that gets developed is along the event center, and this is San Carlos Plaza. San Carlos Plaza is located at the crossroads of Paseo de Cesar Chavez and Paseo de San Carlos. This is very different than it is currently, reconfiguring it with a circular shape, reconfiguring the edge of the event center, and the intent here is to create a high-energy urban space accommodating crowds for before and after games, concerts, and ceremonies. The open space design here is to create a durable and flexible space that will accommodate daily use as well as special events. Removal of the existing fountain to better enable that gathering space and minimize the perception of water waste, which was another thing we heard in our outreach. This circular seating wall will serve as a mini amphitheater, framing a place for small performances oriented to this remodeled event center facade. Featuring public art, this large mural opportunity shown as a placeholder, as well as a digital facade for students to engage with broadcasted sporting events, news, or other digital media. The landscape design, as with everywhere on the campus, is to increase shade and comfort. Down at the south end of campus, new housing plan is really about the opportunities, as Linda mentioned, to increase on-campus student housing. And the amenities, of course, need to follow the housing. So here we have this open space, currently labeled play here, also known as the backyard. This is intended to be adjacent to the dining, student dining. So really looking to create this zone, expand upon the existing housing zone in this quadrant of campus, and relate those open spaces to semi-private. So we would design these spaces so you feel like you are in a safe area of campus, controlled, and really creating some amenity spaces that are really just for students. In addition to that, though, along the ground floor, we have the Welcome Center as we pull visitors and students into the campus along Paseo de Cesar Chavez. As well as just in terms of phasing of this project, this is planned to be, the first phase would be here at the corner to include the dining facility and some housing. And phase 2 would go on the site where the dining hall is currently, so expanding with more housing there. We're also looking to relocate loading as under some spaces as possible, so it's creating a better outdoor area for students. In addition, and last but not least, is South Campus and the improvements that we're looking to there. As you know, this serves alumni, visiting teams, the greater community, and is part of an emerging sports and recreation entertainment district. This supports Spartan fans, athletics, recreational and intramural sports and clubs, academic classes, research, and special events. The vision here is to unite those various activities with a central plaza and renovation of Stadium Way. That's pedestrian entertainment zone, as well as improving the perimeter conditions around the South Campus. The Stadium Way connects connecting the South Campus parking garage through South Campus to the park and ride lot over here. So allowing this more central spine and celebrating the various athletic uses that are there. We have new building N, which is the new athletics and training facility. Project S here is about concessions and ticketing and gates to be reconfigurable depending on what venue is or what activity is happening, as well as a new training, obviously the training field, Spartan Athletic Center the Legacy Center, shown here as Building R, and then connecting all of these through this central spine. Rendering here showing that sense of arrival and establishing the identity of South Campus and San Jose State as a real opportunity, especially at South Campus, strengthening those edges, and you'll see landscaping and new fencing around the perimeter. We want to continue to enhance those high-quality facilities, obviously, to connect to the central block of South Campus. Stadium Way is designed for events, but also for daily use and operations. This also includes opportunities for public art that reflect the cultural diversity of the campus at various points along the public and pedestrian ways. So, as I said, for more detail, please go explore more of the plan. Go to the website, and I'm going to turn it over to Tracy for next steps.
Thank you, everybody. So the next step in our process, so we've got our public draft of the master plan is finalized. It's out here on the website as we shared with you. And we are now, as I spoke earlier, in the process of developing our environmental impact report. The administrative draft of that report is currently under review, and it's intended that we will make that public and available in January. Once we make that public and available, there will also be some public hearings that take place with respect to that. So there'll be notifications throughout the campus community on the availability of those hearings, and there'll be opportunities for comment with respect to the environmental impacts resulting from the master plan that we've presented to you today. We're also in meaningful consultations with interested tribal leaders as required under the California Environmental Quality Act. That partnership is very important to us. And there'll be, as I said, more opportunity to comment. We anticipate that we will be holding public hearings sometime in February. In closing, well, let me talk to you a little bit about this. So we actually, something happened here. Okay, yeah, so back in March, we did the notice of preparation. That is notifying the campus and the community that we are preparing an EIR report with respect to this project. We, as I said, anticipate it will be released in January, public meeting in February, and then we anticipate going to the Board of Trustees for consideration of adoption of our master plan and the EIR document that accompanies it in May of '24. So provided we stay on schedule and all things happen according to plan, in late May of 2024, the campus will have a fully renewed and adopted campus master plan upon which it can rely and use as a planning document for all of its future projects. This imagery gives you a good, nice overview. These are images that are also within the master plan, and I think we also have available out there a little trifold brochure if you want to take that with you as well today. In closing, I just want to thank everybody that has participated in this process. Thank you as a campus community for providing us with the opportunity to listen and to try to manifest a future physical vision of the campus. The campus master plan is not just a blueprint for our physical development, but it's a testament to our commitment to excellence, to innovation, and the holistic growth of our university community. As we've seen, this comprehensive plan aligns with our core values, addressing current challenges and anticipating the future and the needs that we may have. The revitalization of our campus is a strategic investment in the future of education and the success of our students and our communities. The success of the master plan doesn't rely only on the brilliance of what we've created here today and the design, but it relies also on our collective effort as we move forward and working diligently toward its implementation. So thank you very much for being here today. As stakeholders, each one of you are stakeholders, and you've been very vital to the campus master plan team and to the leadership of the campus in helping us develop this plan. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate that, and we're going to open the floor to questions now. And I think I'm going to run around with a microphone, along with Ven. So we have opportunity, yeah, we'll run a microphone up to you, but opportunity for you to have this next 20 minutes or so for questions from the audience. And we will do our best to field all of the questions that you may have. And what I can promise you is that if there's something out there that we have to go dig for the information, we will get your information and make sure we get back to you.
You can tell I'm a student. Yeah, my name's Jimmy. I'm a civil engineering student, undergrad, obviously. So the main, I guess, not objection, but a concern I have as a student is transportation. Now, like everyone knows about the South Campus parking garage and the shuttle and all that, right? In my opinion, it's been underutilized, meaning like we still, like I'm an engineering student, we still use the North parking garage because of convenience, right? And also availability, right? We don't use the South Campus parking garage because the shuttle, most of you may know this, closes at 6. So like they stop operating at 6 o'clock. So a lot of students, they're like, well, we're not going to use it because I got clubs or, clubs to go to or after school activities, so we can't access it. And then add upon the fact that this semester they've been installing EV chargers at the North Campus garage. And let's just say there's been a little bit of chaos at the North parking garage that I have completely avoided thanks to public transportation. But, so my main concern is transportation, parking. These are, yes, we have to, have space for construction and all that, but like, how are we going to accommodate students and faculty during this process? Like, I didn't see any parking garages being in the plan, right? So how are we going to, I don't know, figure it out? Yeah.
I got you, Jimmy. Thank you so much for the concern you've expressed. I want you to know and to be assured that the team really did look at transportation very deep. We did not spend a lot of time talking about different strategies, but some of what we did in terms of thinking, being thoughtful about transportation, is we partnered with the city of San Jose. They were currently in the process of updating their own transportation plan for downtown and for the future plan for BART to come into the area. And so we ensured that as we thought about the edges of our campus, that we coordinated our efforts and integrated our exterior campus into the city's transportation development plan. In addition to that, and I'm looking at Tiffany here because I owe her right now, but Tiffany is responsible for AS Transportation Solutions and has been working diligently on the development of an RFP to create a transportation demand management plan for the campus. And that RFP is currently sitting on my desk for review, but I anticipate that in the spring that effort will go underway. And that effort, not to steal your thunder at all, Tiffany, but that effort is really designed to take a look at transportation demand characteristics and find ways to be more successful at reducing especially single vehicle use and transportation in and out of the campus, and ensuring that we have a strategy that takes advantage of all the various modes of transportation so as to decrease that pressure that you see. The other piece that you brought up was the connection between Main and South Campus. And there's really not a lot that we can do to pull those two campuses closer together, right? They are where they are, but I know that we will have to look during transportation demand management planning about how we get people back and forth. And we did talk with the city about what their plans were on the expansion of their network. I think it's going to be a combination of strategies designed to relieve some of the pressure on parking on main campus by transferring those folks down to the south, but we've got to find robust ways to get people to and from. So thank you for bringing up your concern, and know that we are thinking actively about that.
Thank you, Charlie. Fred Cohen, Director of the School of Music. We appreciate very much what you've done with this plan. It's really got some marvelous things, but we do note, as been stated a couple times, that facility follows programming, and we notice, of course, the music building is scheduled to be demolished. So we wonder, and I've been asking this question for 3 years, what happens to the music building, the concert hall, additional facilities, all of the things that are important to make this work from an educational point of view?
Thank you for that question, Fred. We heard that question quite a bit, right? Because when we bring forward a map of what the campus looks like today, and then we show you what it'll look like in the future, the first reaction that people have is, well, where is my program going? Because my building's no longer there, right? Very valid question. That's a very challenging pathway to navigate in master planning, because in master planning, we're essentially thinking about land use planning and the use of space in large blocks, if that makes sense. Now, having said all that, we do take into account, and this is the great work that Linda does, we take into account an assessment of space on campus, and what our deficiencies are, and what our renewal needs are, and that's what leads to how much space is being added. So while I do not have an exact answer today as to where music will go, whether it will be in Building L or one of the other buildings that is in that area, we have accounted for the space, and music's not going anywhere until we can shift that domino, right? Because we've got to be able to build the space for a program to move into that's adequate before we can then move the space, or before we can then take that space down. So I don't have specific answers for you today. I think as we get down into more of the implementation planning and the capital planning related to how we will implement this plan over 20 years, we'll get more specific about the programs that go in each building and how that works. So this is a plan, but it's not intended to be a plan that sits on the shelf. It's a tool that we will use to do all the other planning necessary to manifest the vision.
I guess I would just add that there are, some of these plans, I hear what you're saying, makes a lot of sense. Sorry. I hear what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. But I noticed some things that, for example, athletics, even though it's unclear what exactly is going to happen in the space, is athletics and so forth. And it seems like performing arts, generally speaking, should be accounted for as a program within the plan. That I would like to see that. Thank you.
That's fair, thank you.
Tracy, could I add something? So in the plan, there are places with large, actually one of the things we know about music and performing arts is that it's a real activator of space. And it's a real treasure to have, and that's why we want it on main campus. And so the possibilities of where it goes are many places within the new buildings. And one of the places that has an integration with the outside is one of the buildings along San Fernando, and it's where we put the performance center, or the outdoor performance area with the building F. And so that's just one of the possible places, but actually we really see it as a central feature. It's just really hard to represent sometimes, but it is. We know that it will be one of the reasons why people come to campus, and so therefore it will be somewhere central.
So, Janet Stemwedel, Department of Philosophy, which also is losing a building in the plan. And our needs are maybe less obvious than music's, but we do have spaces that are central to how we support our students and our faculty. And I'm assuming probably we don't get a whole building to our own because we're philosophy. But I hope that there's going to be a process to talk to us about what kind of spaces we do need besides just faculty offices. We have a tutoring lab. We have a department reference library. We have a burning desire for a dedicated seminar room. All of these things would be important to maintain, but someone's got to involve us in the conversation first. So that was a thing. I just wanted to throw in an actual question to go with this as well. Plans are great. Implementation is crucial. What have we learned about some recent buildings on our campus, like CV2, which had persistent plumbing problems from the jump, or potentially the interdisciplinary science building, about which I've heard deep concerns about its energy efficiency?
There's a lot bundled up there. So know that the next stage, like as we get through the master plan, this will be a foundational document that we use with the campus to do capital planning. And the campus and campus leadership, we will have to set priorities around how do the dominoes fall, right? Like how do we get things, because we have limited space. We can't just push to the north and build something new, right? So there has to be an approach in which we can build something, move something, build something, move something. As we work through those priorities, and we've started to think about that a little bit, what we'll end up with is a capital project that may be in a zone or it may just be a building. And at that point, that's when we'll really get deeply engaged into what goes in there. We've really tried to make our master plan flexible because we know there are a lot of combinations that work in a time, and then there are a lot of things that have to be on their own, right? So we will work broadly with the campus community as we do that capital planning. Now, getting to how have we, the lessons that we have learned, right? I've been in public service and higher education for 27 years now. And I can tell you that in this next year, I'm going to learn things I've never learned before. If there's anything that I know, it's that I'm constantly learning and adapting and trying to make the next thing that I do better. So every project that we have, we always learn lessons from. So I want to assure you, it's not just CV2, it's not just ISB. Even small projects that we do, we learn lessons from. And we try to adapt those into our next project. I'm not deeply familiar with what you mentioned with CV2 specifically. I'll go back to the office and talk to my folks about that. I'm on call 2 weeks out of the month, usually backup one and direct one, and CV2 isn't my hot spot. I do get calls there, but it's usually from a misuse of a toilet versus the plumbing system not working, so I'll have to dive into that a little bit more. ISB, what I can tell you is that we're still in the stage of fine-tuning and moving into that building. Yes, the rumors that you have heard are accurate in that our energy use of that building right now is higher than what the design calculations were leading us down the path of believing what it was going to be in terms of energy demand and use. Having said all that, the building is soundly engineered, and we know that this is a process of taking the year, which is not atypical for a brand new building, especially one of that complexity, to fine-tune in the building controls and automation systems to ensure that it's responsive to the needs of the campus community that is using the building, but at the same point in time, also an energy efficient approach. We've not signed off on that contract, that's not done, and the contractor is still on the hook to work with us on that. So I'm confident that those numbers will improve, and I will also tell you it's not highly atypical in the first 6 months of a building's operation to find that the energy numbers are higher or lower or something's going on, because it's just impossible to predict that perfectly when you're kind of doing an approach before people are in the building.
I also want to address the question that you brought, well, the statement you made or the comment you made about how deep the plan goes. When you get to an actual building, and I see Mary sitting over here who's done this for the last 3 years with ISB, when you actually get to programming a building, that's when you do that dive work. You don't see it at this level, right? And to the point of, we had a lot of conversation of whether or not we should get into programming and where it might land exactly relative. And the plan intentionally doesn't do all that work so that we don't try to lock ourselves into something, so that we can, when the building comes online, then we're in that moment and we're not over programming now. So there's a scale at which this is happening. When you actually get to a music building, or let's say a humanities and arts building or something like that, then you start to dig in, and that's when you sit down and do that detailed nuanced work with what is the department. To the point though, every square foot that exists now is in the plan, plus another 2.6 million gross square feet. Right? So there's additional space beyond, to the point where we're going to have to make an argument for why we need all that space. So everything's intended to grow relative to where we are, and think about, and I will say philosophically, the question of communal space, the connection, the seminar kind of thing you're talking about, all of that's philosophically baked into what is there, but you can't get into those weeds, because to try to program 3.6 million gross square feet is an impossible task at this scale. So I just wanted to bring that up as part of the process, having sat through this and had a lot of these conversations in there. But it's a great point. I don't want to lose it, but it's that next layer down where you really start to see that sort of thing happen. I think I got that right. Is that fair?
Just had a real quick question. I'm David Vickerman, Director of Bands here. I was curious if in the numbers, when you're looking at students and allocating that space or renovating space, stuff like that, and I know this is coming from my music background, but for instance, the space some of our facilities need is not typical to like just a classroom, for instance, right? So if we have the marching band rehearsing inside somewhere, that's going to have to be a large space so we don't, blow our ears out trying to, right? And so I guess has that been considered, I guess, in the mathematics for how much square footage? Because, for instance, we don't have a space like that currently. So it's not just about, I would hope at least, just replacing the amount of space we have, for instance, in music, but expanding so it's healthy for the growth of the program.
When we look at space, we certainly look at it in a dynamic way. And not everything is an office, a lecture, or a teaching lab. We have a lot of, and it's not, some space is easy, like, that if you've got kinesiology and physical education, you need a gymnasium, right? It's a little bit harder for some of the specialty spaces associated with the academic disciplines. But we certainly consider that when we're looking at our space calculations, and I'm confident that between the renovation space, the number that we have in there for renovation and reimagining existing space, and then the additional space we have those types of specialty spaces covered.
Thank you. Roxana Marish, I'm a professor of education. And I wanted to thank you for mentioning that you've done a town hall, you're connected to the community-based organizations, and there's openness and transparency around that. I know this is a university event. My work is split between the university. I'm also a committee member, executive committee member of the San Jose Silicon Valley and NAACP. And I would encourage greater transparency from the university end around some of the mixed use projects that are underway. we were asked to review a project that involved affordable housing, the city of San Jose, SVA, Beacon, a number of, it was a tech accelerator, and there was a kind of a pressure for the community-based organizations to sign on, you know, this is gonna happen and it's gonna be great, but there wasn't any kind of an open forum like this to ask questions about that particular project. Hasn't been in the city of San Jose yet. Could you talk about that? Is that one of those buildings there, or is it a completely separate thing related to, I'm just curious, and I'm trying to piece together our role as San Jose State University and something that's considered to be a multi-used, you know, project that involves also faculty and all kinds of things. It was seemed complicated, and I'm looking to learn more. Thank you.
And I'm not sure let me move away a little bit from the mic. I'm not sure I'll be able to fully address your question, but I have a question for you. Are you referring to a project that you understand is happening on the campus? Or is this a project out in the community that's a mixed use development?
I believe it is a building. It was brought to, you know, out of the community, but the San Jose State was a partner of it, and it involved space related to mixed use kind of tech accelerator as part of it. Maybe I'd follow up later, but it was puzzling to me that I had heard of it as a community member and not as a faculty member at the university.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to have a sidebar conversation and just learn more about it. I can tell you, and I know Vin and Charlie are here too, the campus does get approached quite frequently by the community and or is engaged in community organization and learns about a lot of different opportunities. To give you an idea, I have an ongoing joke with Charlie. When I got here about, 3.5 years ago now, we had, Charlie told me, Tracy, we've got to find a way to build faculty, staff, and student housing. This is like something we really have to do. And I kid you not, there's probably been about 12 to 15 potential opportunities to partner in the community where we've been approached or become aware of something. And it wasn't until we struck the partnership right down the Paseo that something actually came to fruition. So this just may be something that's in discussion that hasn't gone anywhere, but I'd love to learn more about it. I can also advise that the university is San Jose, and San Jose is the university, right? And we very clearly have a desire to integrate more within our community and for our community to be integrated within the campus. So opportunities for the campus to spread itself out into the community are things that we always listen to, and there may be partnerships that come out of that. Charlie, Vin, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that right now, and I'm happy to have a sidebar conversation to learn more because we are committed to transparency. I'd like to transition real quick and let you know that as we plan projects on campus, we will be talking about them. There will be opportunities for the campus community to participate.
Okay, I got 2 more questions.
Hi, I'm a part of Honors X, a student, and the things we're addressing are sustainability development goals. And as part of my group, we're trying to create an initiative for a community garden, a food community garden. There's a growing mental health and physical crisis, and we were looking at the data at UC Santa Cruz and Davis and how these gardens have been contributing to mental wellness as well as food security. And we were wondering if that's something you guys are looking into.
So, I'm sure you're aware, but I had the good fortune of finally taking a tour of the AS Community Garden located over by Housing, which is a really amazing space. And one which, when I first got here, we did a small improvement project, and I think that we want to consistently find ways to partner with them to help them in their efforts to use what is a compact space for a high food production space, right? And they do amazing work there. So my approach, certainly not saying no because we have a campus landscape that's going to be re-envisioned, but my approach is to also always think of are we already doing this somewhere? And if we are, is there a way that additional resources brought into that space might help make it more successful, right? Versus let's just go build something new and add to it. Now, there are also, as part of that assessment, you also have to take a look at the fact that maybe more space is needed. And I think that, there is some other space in campus that's used for garden space, but as we reimagine our campus landscape, I think that we're always going to be open to conversations around this issue.
Hi, Janice Wright, staff and community member. I'd like to thank you for having all the public art locations up there. Can we embed in the plan a commitment to prioritize using local artists and hopefully San Jose State artists and faculty and alumni for those art projects, and maybe incorporate some sort of rotating student and faculty gallery space into some of the building designs, particularly on San Fernando?
Excellent feedback that I believe really speaks to some of the values that we express in the plan. I want to assure everybody that we were very diligent about ensuring that opportunities to expand art and to embrace our culture and to embrace our local community on campus were properly captured in the master plan, so that any architect that we hire to do a project on campus will understand that that's where our values are and that we want to do that. Having said all that, there are also other committees on campus that handle the process side of things. And so the physical master plan is really about the physical space and its manifestation. Not necessarily would it address policy related to the type of art or other things like that. But that's certainly a message that can be carried to the art committee and to the campus planning board.
To your point, though, one of the things we've talked about on San Fernando in particular is how we create an outward face, exactly through art, music, dance, and other sorts of things. We've even talked about it in the context of Alquist. Now, whether or not that fits with Alquist or not, that's a different question, but you're absolutely spot on that one of the things that has happened is we have amazing activity. It's all in the center and you can't see in. So how do we reverse that and start to use the first couple of floors or the first floor of our buildings as we go to create a sense of community connection and outwardness? That'll help us as well, because then you can keep those doors open. One of the challenges with a lot of our galleries and other things right now, because we changed the nature of how we enter and exit buildings, it makes it harder for community members. So that was definitely in the conversation as we thought about design. So again, when we get into the weeds of, let's say, that first San Fernando building, and I know there's probably goals on which one we knock down first on San Fernando, but when we get to that point, right, that is exactly some of the design expression we're looking to build in. So that's a great comment, and it was definitely been on the table.
Okay, now the final question.
Hello, my name is Andrea. I'm currently a fourth year, an undergrad. And first of all, I wanted to high-five you. This plan is really cool. I feel like it's very important to make this campus attractive, to attract more applicants and just make it more fun. But with that, I believe it's very important to maintain a well-rounded campus. You know, something I've seen is, you know, like the startup culture has been very has been growing here, but with that, you know, we have to also, you know, take importance to music, for example. But the main, you know, a reason why I raised my hand was because on the way here, a student stopped me and asked me, you know, for directions, and I pointed her towards the map, but she was like, I don't understand it. Turns out she was a high school student. You know, I'm just visiting, doing a scavenger hunt. So something, that I would love to see be taken into consideration, with the whole campus remodeling is to make the campus directory very clear to someone who's never been here before. That's all. Thank you.
That's a fantastic comment. Thank you for that. I think that we have to continue, and there's been a lot of discussion about working on our signage and wayfinding plan in terms of its physical presence within our campus. But I also fully embrace the fact that our students today are digital natives. So looking at a physical sign someplace may not be the easiest way for them to navigate where they're going. So while we need to have, the old sign that I look for, judging by the hair color, right, that I navigate by is not necessarily, that cannot be our only strategy. We have to have a robust web-based strategy for helping people navigate around our campus. But do know that one of the things that we've been asked to study is a specific signage and wayfinding plan for the campus, including interpretive signage. That'll come out of this work that we're doing and be an additional plan that we do.
That's perfect. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your feedback. Please give us more feedback. This committee has been great pulling this together. Thanks to my co-chair here of the Campus Master Plan. I think we have something good. I think we have something that's going to be creative. I think it's going to be something that is good bones that we can build on and expand our campus, open up windows, open up doors, open up opportunities so people can see all the great things that we have going on here. Thanks. Have a great afternoon, everyone.